I don't know if you're looking for a show about the top 1%, but if you are, Succession is not your show. We're talking about the top 0.001% or even higher. And as much money as they have, there is just as much craziness, dysfunction, drama, whatever you want to call it.
That's goddamn right!
Now, even with all that drama, craziness, and whatever, you're also getting an inside look at the ultra wealthy, and there are some key business themes that are very relevant to what we do here at Four Pillars.
Well, sue me.
Though there are many themes in the show Succession, 3 that really stand out, partially because they're so relevant to what we do at Four Pillars, are the concept of succession planning, having family in the business, as well as company culture. So if you're looking for a show to watch that has a high level of dysfunction and drama to keep your wife interested, but also is relevant to your work, I highly recommend Succession. When we look at succession planning from our perspective, typically we like to see that a plan is in place. Not only having a plan in place, but also that there's some transparency around that plan so that it's not just existing in the owner's mind, but people in the organization know what to expect. They know that there's a path, there's going to be a future after the owner of the business leaves. That is certainly not the case in Succession.
Open the doors. It smells like the cheesemonger died and left his dick in the breed.
I probably will give some spoilers here. In the show, we see numerous family members have no real clue about who will take over the top spot after the patriarch retires. Additionally, you have Wall Street. This is a public company. Wall Street often questioning who is going to run the company. The patriarch makes some comments about the fact that he would like to see one of his kids take over, but he doesn't have a plan in place to help groom the kids so that whenever he is ready to step away, one of his kids will be ready to take those reins. Furthermore, the patriarch Logan, it does something that we see in a lot of small businesses. Not necessarily what he does, but he exhibits a characteristic that we see quite often. And that characteristic is, I'm not trying to be critical here, but it's very hard for a dominant personality who built a business from scratch to relinquish control. Logan has built this business through blood, sweat, tears, stepping on people, probably even killing people, who knows?
Everything I've done for my children.
And because he has done that, he doesn't want to step away, even though he knows he will at some point. Many of the businesses we work with are much smaller, but we still see that thread where it's a founder that has a hard time stepping away from the business. As an example, one time we were working with a business where the owner was in his 80s and he literally could not make it through the workday because his legs would get too tired or, just the mental demands or whatnot. And, we had a very good conversation. We really thought we were going to do something. And at the end of the day, he realized that he just wasn't ready to step away and he couldn't relinquish control. It's a lot different though for a business that is the size of that in Succession versus businesses in the 20, 50 million, $100 million revenue range. A company like Waystar Royco, which is in Succession, they're not going anywhere. Worst case scenario, the stock price takes a dive, a larger competitor comes in, purchases them, and really it's largely business as usual. For smaller businesses, those in the middle market, the lower middle market, we're talking about 50, 100, 200, 300 jobs that can literally vanish overnight. Companies in that size range don't have the luxury of being essentially guaranteed that a larger competitor can step in and take over the business. And that's really, quite unfortunate because, a key part of what we do is we want job growth and whatnot. And without a strong succession plan in place, you really put not only the founder, the owner's personal wealth at stake, but you put the livelihoods of all the company employees, all the stakeholders, vendors, service providers, etc. at stake by not having that succession plan in place. There's one question I think about a lot, being a person that is very committed to his family, and that is, should you have family in your business? I definitely have opinions on that, and some of those opinions are sharpened or brought into focus through scenes in the show Succession. For some people, it might work great. However, there are definite pitfalls. And what I would say is that if you're going to have family in the business, you have to be prepared for the day in which you have to put your business over family or vice versa.
And I'm proud of my family who have helped me get here.
I will tell you, if people ask me like, what's the most important thing to you? I mean, I definitely say my family. Of course, who doesn't say their family? But, whenever I think about, getting off work, the first thing I think about is, okay, now I get to spend some time with my kids. What are we gonna do? I put my work completely out of my mind so that I can be dedicated to my family. Even though that dedication is there, I would still be very reluctant to bring my family into the business. And the reason for that is because no matter how successful your business is, no matter how great your relationship with your kids or a brother or some other family member is, no matter how strong that is, at some point, I think it's inevitable, at some point, you are going to have to choose your family over the business or your business over the family.
Dad, seriously. It's my company.
And that's really not a decision that I want to make. I want to always be able to be in a situation where I can put my family first. And on the flip side, I don't really want to be in a position where my business will have to suffer because I'm putting my family first. Throughout the series, you encounter different circumstances, different scenes, different scenarios where having family in the business complicates the situation and it really degrades the relationship. The last thing I want to be is 80 years old and I'm worried that the success that I've hopefully built in my business is now actually causing me to have a poorer relationship with my kids. Whenever I'm that age, the number one thing I want to be thinking about is that I have a great relationship with my kids. I did a good job setting themselves up, not necessarily to be successful, but to be good people, to be contributors to society, and also that they've started to instill some of the different philosophies and ethics and whatnot that I value, that they value into their own kids. I don't want to have to worry about the fact that, my son is upset with my daughter because they both want to be CEO, or my son's getting paid more than my daughter, or vice versa, and that's causing drama, and now all of a sudden they're upset with me. At the end of the day, if you put your family in the business, that's fine. That's your decision. It can be great. However, again, my position is that ultimately there'll be a time where you have to put the business first or you have to put the family first, and those two decisions, it will be a zero-sum game. It won't be additive. Do you ever wonder how billionaires groom the next generation of leaders for their company? Well, it turns out that some of the mistakes that billionaires made are also made by owners of smaller businesses.
I'm just a lovely guy.
When someone says toxic culture, what comes to mind? Is it micromanagement? Is it aggressive personalities? Is it that they make you play bore on the floor? Oh wait, you don't know what bore on the floor is? Well, let's look to the TV show Succession to explain exactly what bore on the floor is. And please note there are some spoilers.
Yep. Sit on the floor. It's fun.
Seriously?
Yeah, it's a game. Bore on the floor.
I feel...
Get down! Bore on the floor. Bore on the floor.
In one episode, they're at a dinner party and Logan Roy says, let's play bore on the floor. Well, bore on the floor is a really interesting game. What you do is you pick out your emotionally weakest dinner party guests, make them get on the floor and make pig noises while you throw sausages at them. I would say that that's a candidate for a toxic workplace.
No half-hearted oink. I want full-hearted oink.
Oink, 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 oink.
Now, I'm sure that your workplace is not that toxic, or that's not what comes to mind when you think about a toxic workplace, but there are other examples of how corporate culture can be very dysfunctional. And even though that's a definite extreme, there are other more moderate examples of a dysfunctional corporate culture that are in the show Succession. For example, Logan is the stereotypical founder, patriarch, almost godlike person within that company. Everyone walks on eggshells around him. How can you have an idea if anything that is counter to what Logan wants is shot down immediately? And by the way, your idea doesn't just get shot down. More than likely, you are publicly humiliated for even having an idea that might be somewhat counter to what Logan would suggest.
You, outside.
He...
Outside. Now!
Even though the culture at Waystar Royco is absolutely dysfunctional and toxic, there are still elements that contribute to where the company is today. And those characteristics are probably not ones that we would want to put in our own business, but it's how Logan got to where he is today. So for example, in one of the later episodes, Logan is talking to his son and his son asks him, was I ever really considered to be the CEO? And ultimately Logan says, no, because you're not a killer. That is very representative of of how we should think about the company culture at Waystar. Killers are the type of people that get ahead. Killers are how the business has grown, has become what it is today. And I mean, my personal view is that's great that they've had that success employing a culture that rewards, quote unquote killers, but that's not a company that I want to be associated with. If you look at the 4 pillars name, the first pillar is relationships as a cornerstone for success. And we live by that. We don't want to be killers. We want to build solid relationships with the people that we work with. And that's what we find enjoyable. And, call it naive. I'm never going to be a billionaire that, on my birthday party, we rent a fleet of helicopters and go play a game of softball because I have more money than I know what to do with. But what I will have is I will have a career of solid relationships that I've built that I can call on. I can pick up the phone, talk to different folks, because what I have prioritized is building a relationship, not my own personal gain at the expense of everything else. So if you're looking for an entertaining show to watch while you're putting in the miles on the treadmill, I highly recommend Succession. If you'd like to watch more videos like this, be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons. Also, let me know what you're watching. Leave a comment.